So, main event, MJF and Jay White for the AEW Championship. It'll be interesting to see how well they can get Jay White across in terms of, like, I see this match being like your 25, 30 minutes. And I think it'll be like a really hell of a match. But you also have Jay White. That's not everyone's cup of tea. I think he's excellent in these situations. And I think this is going to be a really strong match. But you are going to be fighting you're going to have to reel in your audience that is not believing we are seeing a title change here to really bite on those near falls. And I think they will get there. I think this is going to be a hell of a match. And I hope it is just not overwrought with Bullet Club Gold and all the other stuff that I think people are going to expect in this match.
Yeah, you'll certainly get that. But you'll also have MJF, fighting them off. And I don't even look at that as a negative. Like when used well, it's a great enhancement for, the babyface's comeback. So, I mean, it's an MJF pay-per-view match, which are almost always really excellent. Jay White also in these sort of long match, 30-minute situations is also really good. So I think the in-ring content will be great. I, again, don't really feel like my interest is where it should be for an AEW pay-per-view headlining match. I think the build has been certainly, you could say unfocused, just between everything, the controversy, whether or not intentional, stemming from the whole Juice Robinson thing, to the multiple directions with the Devil, which I don't think has completely clicked just yet. And all of other, all of MJF's other sort of storylines at the moment. I don't think they've really hit hard enough the idea that because MJF is so unfocused, he could lose the championship. I think that was the strongest thing that they might have been able to use to build Jay White's chances. As it exists, it just really feels like a title defense to me.
Ricky Starks and Big Bill versus Rush and Dralistico, FTR, and Malachi Black and Brody King. 4-way match for the AEW tag titles. I could see this one going late in the card. I think that Ricky Starks and Big Bill, I don't see a strong enough reason to just get the belts back on FTR. I mean, you could put them on Rush and Dralistico, but personally, I'd like to see Rush get a bit of a singles run at this time. I think that now that he is back, I like keeping the belts on Starks and Big Bill. I just don't see an argument to just switch them here for the sake of it.
I don't even think the story is with Starks and Big Bill. I mean, the feud is between FTR and Kings of the House of Black. So they'll probably break off with each other without the need for the championship. Although, you know what?
Aren't the House of Black also feuding with the BCC? Wasn't that we're also doing that? Remember when they attacked all the BCC members?
Did they drop that?
They haven't dropped it. Claudio and Yuta have still gotten involved with them, but Danielson's out. Moxley's preoccupied.
Right.
So,
okay, well, I guess they're focused. Yeah, because FTR was teaming with for at least 1 week, the Blackpool Combat Club. So
yes,
maybe they might pick that back up. But, it's very possible they'll give it back. They'll give it to House of Black. But I do feel like they have the titles on Ricky Starks and Big Bill for a reason. And that's probably to tell a bigger story with the two of them outside of FTR and House of Black. So I probably have those guys retain. But this too is like, I've not really been. I don't think it's been really well built up, but it's one of those matches where you just know, okay, the participants are really good. The match should be really good, but I don't think story wise it's been great.
Chris Statlander, Julia Hart, Sky Blue for the TBS Championship.
Interest for this one is not that high either. Again, John, but I think in ring it could be good. I think you're talking about Sky Blue and Julia Hart, two very young competitors that have improved greatly over the time we've seen them over the past year. So this continues to be another really good showcase for them. Will they continue to tell a story between how corrupted Sky Blue might exactly be? They've kind of settled that, haven't they? She's only 10% corrupted. She's corrupted. She still has the eye tattoos.
They've corrupted the code blue.
Yeah, tonight. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. How have you felt about the story?
I don't think the story's been all that great. I think this is one of those where it's okay. Here's a storyline for the women's division. I was like, it hasn't been that great of a storyline. I will say, I think the audience is into Julia Hart. Like, I think she has genuinely made improvements. I think people like the character. Sky Blue. I think Sky Blue. Listen. I can only share like what I observe in these matches, but I do think she is a very good performer. I have seen her go into some very cold settings and win over crowds. But now you are switching her to a heel, which is, a deviation from that. They have a chance to, like, Chris Statlander is very.
She's a babyface.
Sky Blue.
Yeah.
Sort of.
She spat blue mist.
She's 90% babyface.
Yeah. So again, I don't even think the story is really that important. It's more just the match.
And what have we been doing for 2 months?
Putting them on TV and letting people know who they are, So I think there's enough interest in
will this match air at 9:15 on the pay-per-view?
Is that the bad spot? 9:15.
I'm just saying, do they follow the TV format on a pay-per-view?
Probably a bit later, I suppose.
All right. The Golden Jets against the Young Bucks. If the Golden Jets win, they get the Young Bucks tag title shot. And if the Bucks win, the Golden Jets must disband as a team. So I see Jericho and Omega winning this one. And I guess you could argue if we're going that, we have to do some assumptions here of, Omega and Jericho going for the tag titles. Is that Ricky Starks and Big Bill, or do you see a title change there? But I see Jericho and Omega winning this one. And this one has to deliver in a big way. And this could be, that'd be quite the week for Chris Jericho if he comes out and has another killer match, because he's had 2 pretty great ones this week.
Yeah. I guess the question I ask is, beyond this match, what are the storylines for everybody? If Jericho and Omega lose, they can no longer team up. And is that going to create further fuel for dissent between Omega and the Bucks? And what's that feud? Like, what more can you do, I suppose, with Omega and the Bucks after something like this? And after everything they've already done together. Otherwise, we have the Golden Jets winning, and that would send the Bucks maybe further to their heel personas, perhaps.
Or do you just break up the Golden Jets at this point? Like,
that can happen too.
Like these two, like, I'm not worried about the match, but when you like these two, like, they do not feel like they are, like, it's an awkward fit to me of Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. These two feel like they are not.
They're rivals. They're longtime rivals at this point. They're both from Winnipeg.
Exactly. Yeah. They're a weird fit together as a team.
Well, rivals pair up all the time. What do you mean?
It's a weird fit.
I think stylistically, maybe is what you mean. Like Jericho, even though I think we've seen him match well with Kenny Omega, maybe there's a certain standard for Kenny Omega that we're expecting, especially from like maybe the tag team partners he's had in the past. So, but I could still see them challenging Big Bill and Ricky Starks, for instance.
That's what I see. That is what I see happening here.
Yeah.
Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland, Texas Death Match. To some people, they may feel like this is the main event on the show.
The people's main event for sure.
I think it's been promoted the most effectively. They had their hiccups after the home invasion and the follow-up to it, but I think they've course corrected enough in the last 2 weeks.
I mean, it really was just the Chiron you seem to have issue with, right?
It wasn't just that. It was just, I think overall, it was not played as like the intensity. Like there has been a marked difference, I think, since that 1 week buffer where it just felt as though it was like, oh yeah, by the way, this happened last week. There was this home invasion that just seems to be like normal fare. And then the next week it's like, yeah, no, my baby was in that crib. I'm going to murder you. So it was just,
I don't remember the specifics of it, but
exactly because there were none. They didn't make a big deal out of it coming out of it. Like it was just nothing.
I mean, okay, so maybe if that was that 1 week, and if I recall correctly, it was because like Swerve was in the main event and Paige wasn't interacting with him. Anyway, I think they've done a great job, overall. Like by the time I'm at the pay-per-view itself, I'm really hyped for it. I thought tonight's promo was really strong. I thought last week's promo was really strong as well. So
the only confusing part is that the winner of this, like, is another name. Like the winner of this should be going for the title.
Yeah, sure. Yep, and I could see that being Swerve Strickland. It's kind of shitty to make the guy who's home.
Like you've got Joe, you've got Wardlow, you've like it's just all these.
So I could see a rubber match between the two,
between Paige and Strickland.
Because somebody else.
Man, what do you do after a Texas Death Match like this?
Well, what do you do after a home invasion?
He's told him he's going to kill him, and then piss on his grave with his son every year.
Yeah. Well, maybe Paige has to win.
2 out of 3 falls. That's the last straw.
No.
I'm looking forward to this. I could make arguments for either one going over, but it's sort of what your mix is. But I would love to see the winner of this in they should be in the title mix after this. But
who would you have then?
Part of me wants to see Swerve. I think like he to me is the guy that, but it's kind of hard to beat Hangman after he's defending the life of his son.
I know. Yeah, so it's kind of a tricky one to book where like you're right, like Swerve has all this like incredible upwards momentum that I think a lot of people are picking to be like of everybody on the roster who should be next to enter the title picture. I would say a lot of people would say it would be Swerve. But Paige is also working a storyline where his home and his baby's crib was invaded. So how do you make the guy lose? There are always ways around, booking things like this in pro wrestling. But I also don't think they're intending on Swerve timing wise to challenge for the title yet. So maybe it'll be Paige.
Orange Cassidy against Jon Moxley International Championship.
There's just been so much flip-flopping with this one, unintentionally, of course. But I don't necessarily see Mox just winning, especially with the way like he kind of beat down Cassidy tonight. I somehow see Cassidy retaining.
Does Orange Cassidy work over the head?
He's gonna have to fortify that orange punch somehow. Maybe he'll have to turn into a watermelon punch.
Okay, well, maybe some evolution.
A lot harder than orange.
Yeah,
the last match these two had was amazing. Of course,
it was. It was also the main event of that pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm. So we can expect the same. I think this will be a really, really great match. Could potentially steal the show.
Sting, Darby Allin, Adam Copeland with Ric Flair against Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne.
Mm-hmm. Maybe to some people, the other main event. This is Sting's possible last time in Inglewood, California. It's a pay-per-view Sting match, so you could expect a big spot. Okay. But like we saw on Saturday, I think you'll largely see Darby and Adam Copeland work, do the bulk of the action here.
Darby with his one shoulder.
Yep. And this will be Adam Copeland and Christian Cage sharing a ring.
That's right. And Adam Copeland's first pay-per-view match that he has as well. And you've got Ric Flair that's got to do some spot in this match. Maybe
do
like
a chop.
I don't know. He fights a dinosaur.
That would be quite the scene. Yes.
They should actually do something where like Christian takes out Ric Flair or something.
Sure. Yeah.
Do something like that. Because you have to have, I think, several programs at least. I still think you have to down the road get to like a big blow off between Darby and Nick Wayne, obviously with Christian and Adam Copeland, which I just think the way that Adam Copeland has come in, I think there's been enough resistance to this that I would want to get that one short up. I'm not saying race to get to that match, but I wouldn't put it off for months. I just don't think. I do think people want to see Adam Copeland in with a wider variety of stuff. I wouldn't call this like an overwhelming success these first 6 weeks.
It also hasn't really started yet. Like you could say this would be the start, the first time that these two are interacting in a match together in a 6-man, right? So I think there's a lot more to be done. We have a lot more material and story for them to tell. But I think in order to start it, who would you say needs to win a match like this?
I think in this setting, I mean, they have not had Sting lose, period. Have they in this whole time?
I'm sure they have, but I can't recall.
Someone can look that up. I don't see them I see Sting like pinning like Luchasaurus or probably Luchasaurus is there to take the fall in this one.
Or Nick Wayne.
But something that keeps everything going. And you could do something like a big spot with Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, like some, spear off the stage, do something big that can keep those two aligned together.
Heels will lose.
A lot coming out of this one.
Heels could lose, and they can regain the heat by a post-match attack somehow afterwards. So yeah,
Hikaru Shida and Toni Storm for the women's championship. I'm interested in this. Like on paper, like this should be a very strong match with these two. I think the crowd's going to be hot for this. The question is like how Hikaru Shida works this match, because I think this is going to be like 100% pro Toni Storm crowd, and how they. I mean, you have to expect that going in. Like, I don't think they're going to be blindsided by that.
Totally. But Cheetah is one of the more likable baby faces they have on the roster. So if anybody can withstand that potential, I think it would be her. I don't think they'll turn on Hikaru Shida. Like, she's not really like, if this was Paige or sorry, a Saraya, then yeah, definitely. Not that she's a baby face even, but I'm trying to think of like another baby face that like might not be able to weather this sort of no pun intended storm, of positivity, right? So, but it'll be a huge homecoming for Tony Storm. I'm expecting a title change here.
Me too. Like, Tony Storm is your most pushed act in this women's division. Let's put the title on her. Like, it writes itself to do like the Hollywood celebration after she wins this. It's like, we're dedicating all this time. Let's make her the focal point of the division. Like, it just feels as though, like, how much focus has there been on Hikaru Shida as she's had this short title reign? Like, it's just,
there's not enough for them to do with her compared to Tony Storm, which they absolutely seem to love, putting in segments and showcasing, right? Sheeta, comparatively, they've yet to really fully define at least as much of a character for. So put it on Storm, yeah.
And the 0 Hour, we'll see what is added. We have 9 matches in total, but the 0 Hour is MJF and mystery opponent against the Guns. And I guess the question is, like, if you see if Samoa Joe is, be very weird for Samoa Joe to be put into this. And
why?
I mean, he made this big deal about giving up his TV title, and now he's going to come in and become the ROH tag champion.
Well, I think they could lose it. I think Joe can be the reason why they lose. Not to say Joe will get pinned. I think MJF is going to get pinned. And or they could lose however many other way, But Joe's whole thing was, if I team with you, then you have to give me a title shot. He didn't have to say they need to win in order for him to actually get the title shot.
Okay, I think this is just, it has no interest from me, basically. I
think it's one too many things. Like, again, MJF to me has felt very unfocused, and unlike the Adam Cole match they did before All In, I just don't see really that much interest. Like, this to me,
the ROH tag titles, they should be on the Guns. Put them on the Guns.
Like, this could have been a TV match, a TV main event. Like, for this show, I think it would have been fine.
Yeah, you could have done this the night before at the Forum. Like, it probably would have been a bigger deal to have MJF wrestling on your show the night before. But that's the show so far. Probably some more matches to come for the pay-per-view, but we will get you all caught up to date on Rewind to SmackDown. So we're live, free for everybody on the Post YouTube channel, 10 Eastern on Friday evening. And then Kate and John will be live at 11 on the Post Wrestling Cafe to get you through all of the AEW content coming your way.
And then Saturday evening, a full review live here at youtube.com/postwrestling of AEW Full Gear.
A Full Gear full review coming your way Saturday night with myself and Wei Ting.